Hey guys, I'm making this video to give you an update on what's been going on with my computer and streaming and hardware in general. So here's what happened. I woke up one morning, I went to press the power button and didn't turn on. There was no sound, no lights, no fan movement, no error codes on the motherboard, nothing. I opened it up. I checked the wires. I switched outlets. I changed my power supply to like an old one I had lying around. And still nothing. There's no reaction. So that leads me to believe that it is most likely a CPU or motherboard issue. So there's also the potential that is a case issue, right? So what do we mean by a case issue? It means the power button just may not work anymore. So I need to test that. And I haven't tested anything which required shorting, mainly because I've never done it and I'm a little afraid to do it, even though I follow instructions. This is like electricity, so I'm gonna make sure I kind of know what I'm doing before I start. But so if it's not the power supply, the three things I need to test: the computer tower, the processor, and the motherboard. And my friend gave me some search results that can lead me to testing all these components. So I will do so. But here's the thing, it doesn't stop here. So let's say it's a case issue, right? We isolated the issues and I found out it's a case issue. Okay, we get a new case. But still, we have the issue of the CPU. Now, I'm running 13900K, Intel 13900K, and I need to check the batch number for this processor because it may be one of the corroded Intel CPUs that they pushed out last year. Here's the thing. I have had a meltdown last year. My actual CPU didn't melt, but it was fried. So, what does this mean? My current CPU could be doomed, whether we get through this situation or not. It could be doomed now. It could be fried now because of the heat this past summer. Either way, this processor will be going out the door sooner rather than later, due to the Intel issue with the microcode. I did install the microcode, but I was not, it could have spent a few more months without the update and therefore sustain additional hardware damage over time. So I'm not sure about that. Or it could just be dead from the heat this past summer. And then we have the issue of, since we're talking about heat, the issue of my GPU. GPU has been with me for like 8 years. It's great. I build my computers to survive 8 years. But this GPU has survived and I've pushed it. But this whole, my whole room and my whole setup runs really hot. We're talking like 90°C. Like, this is really hot. Or 80°C? I'm not really sure. I don't remember. I don't check my thermals often. Because I build computers every like 10 years or whatever, or 8 years, I didn't really consider the thermal creep of new hardware, all right? Like, mistakes. So I'm not as in tune to checking thermals as I should be. Well, now I'll do it, assuming this one survives. So we got the CPU issue, we got the GPU on its way out due to just being around for a long time. But for the CPU, it really could be dead. If it is not dead, then we could keep using this computer for as long as we can. We might have to throttle some games, and that might affect some of my stream games, which I'll talk about later. But for the last part that I mentioned, so it could be the case, it could be the processor, or it could be the motherboard. That's the other problem. If it's the motherboard, I have to make a decision. Do I try sustain this dying case, or do I try accelerate a timeline and think about a new computer? So ultimately, with all these things crossing, currently a down system, a defective CPU, possible motherboard issues, an old GPU, like these four things really means will likely mean I need to make a change sooner rather than later. After my tests, I'll figure out where to go, where on the timeline we are. Currently, for my CPU, I'm using an all-in-one liquid cooling system just for the CPU. My GPU runs on air, and that brings us to the other heat issue. My room is extremely hot. I do not have AC. I do not have air conditioning. So when it gets humid, when the heat goes up, I feel it. I might as well be standing outside. That is how hot my room gets. Combined with playing Cyberpunk and streaming, we're pushing the components to their limit, and then their thermal limit, and the atmospheric temperature is too high. So even if I cool it, I can only cool it so much because the air around me is already hot. And that's why this whole problem is like compounded. It's a system that I use over 10 hours a day. I use it for recreation. I use it for work. I use it for studying. This computer is basically on all the time. And then we have the atmospheric temperature, and then we have the software that I run, Cyberpunk, Unreal, streaming software, both like at the same time. So we have high thermals, we have a poor cooling solution, we have poor cooling atmosphere, and potentially damaged components. That is why it seems like very likely we're on the timeline that we need to get a whole new setup. Now, the one solution I was thinking about was getting a full liquid cooled system. I have no experience in that. I have a general idea of how it works. Before I make a purchase, before I put it together, I will do as much research as possible. But for the future setup, we're going to go full liquid cooling. Liquid cool the processor, liquid cool the GPU, liquid cool the RAM. I don't know. Is that a thing? Maybe. I don't know. But the reason why I didn't want to go into liquid cooling was because of the upkeep and the threat of a leak or corrosion because you're mixing two metals. Like, all these things need to be really calculated. And I will have to do that when we go liquid cooling. So then it's like, because we don't know where we are on the timeline, well, not even because, we don't know where we are on this timeline of PCs, whether I need to get a new one now or I need to get a new one after I save this one. I will not be getting liquid cooling for this setup. Mainly because the GPU is too old and I can't even find a water block. And if I do find one, it would be way too expensive. I might as well, save and go for a new computer. So yeah, with the new computer, we would have to get almost a completely new setup. I'll keep my storage, I'll keep my RAM. It's mainly the CPU, the motherboard. I'll keep my fans. I have a new tower coming in that is more aerodynamic because I suspected the issue was the power button. And yes, I don't need a new tower. But I could jump it every time I want to turn it on. But, like, if you have a car and your ignition doesn't work, you don't really want to open the panels and hotwire the car every time you want to start it, right? So hopefully, I won't have to do anything. But, so the new case, I'm keeping the monitors. Ideally, the only thing I'd be replacing is a GPU, CPU, motherboard, and adding a liquid cool system. But even then, that could be really expensive. We know about the NVIDIA scumbaggery with the monopoly they have. I have to figure out if I still want Intel. I'm sure they're fine now, but I'm not that trustworthy, and I'd rather have way more performance for cheaper. So it is likely we're returning to AMD. I used to run AMD, and the past 2 generations of my Intels, this is what happened. I believe they're both fried. The last one was fried. We didn't talk about that, but around 2 years ago, before I got this new processor and all that stuff, I had a fried CPU. And it was because the Intel ran really hot, but also I didn't have sufficient cooling, I think. So then I got this one, and then this new one I got not only runs really hot and has significant issues, which I take responsibility for if, it really is overheating and that's the case. But then we got this corrosion issue. So I don't even trust Intel to give me a product. And even if I still trust them, I don't really want to give them my money after this, right? After being like, oh yeah, we knew these were defective and we still shipped them out, and we let you know late in the life cycle. They could have a day 1 patch for the hardware. They could have a day 1 BIOS update, but they didn't. And really, that's because they didn't want to hurt their bottom line. They didn't want to tell people, hey, this is defective out of the gate. And guess what? A lot of people lost their CPUs. And then they're like, oh, we could save you. No, that's like, I had AMD growing up, and I always wanted Intel. I always thought it was more powerful. And sure, maybe it is more powerful in some cases, but when I finally try Intel and it's fucked up, yeah. So we don't know. I don't know what my configuration is for the future. I do know it's liquid cooling. I do know it's top of the line GPU, because if I plan on keeping this computer for a long time. I don't want to upgrade like one generation, right? I have a RTX 2080. It's around like 8 years, 10 years old or something. It's around 10 years old. I have that GPU, and even for a 5 series, even if the price came down on the 5 series, I don't really want to upgrade. That's how long I try to run my computer parts. I really try to run an 8-year cycle, 10-year cycle. Anyways, the 5 series, the RTX 5 series is like, I don't really trust it. Yeah, it's more powerful. Even if the price came down, I'm like, oh, you guys are like fucking up a generation. Like, you're making them weaker with the frame gen crap. I've talked about it. So, all right, let's sum up everything. Let's talk about timeline. That's the best way to sum up everything. Computer is currently broken. I can't identify the issue. If the computer starts working, we will continue doing what we do, except we will throttle our games. We will throttle our work. And by throttle, specifically, Cyberpunk needs to go because Cyberpunk pushes my computer to temperatures that are way too high. And that's unfortunately the case. Until I have a cooling solution, I don't want to push my computer that far if it comes back alive, right? So this is the announcement. No matter what, Cyber Sunday is going to be gone. We might do 7 Days to Die on Sunday, 7 Days to Sunday. Oh, that's actually pretty good. 7 Days to Sunday. I know some people are disappointed, Allison, but unless you buy me like a big block of ice, I can't run the game without frying my components. And that's if this computer comes back to life. If it does not come back to life, no, if only one component is dead, depending on the component, we may be able to continue to run. If it's the tower, then we can continue to stream and move on. I'll throttle everything. If it's the CPU, I will send it into Intel, and then they'll give me a reimbursement, or they'll give me a replacement because it's under warranty. And then we will continue. But if it is a motherboard issue and nothing else, then we try to get a new motherboard, and then we continue. Well, it seems like we will probably continue, but we have to figure out what the issue is. I can't test the tower because the shipment is delayed till Monday, so it will still be a few more days. And if one or more components are fried, then we may have to accelerate the timeline. Yeah, that's basically it. If we have the CPU dead and the motherboard dead, we gotta accelerate the timeline. And that requires a lot more money, because mainly the GPU is, so if we accelerate the timeline, I'm going to get liquid cooling, and then I'm going to get a water block for my GPU. And I'm not going to find a water block for a 2080. So that means I have to get a RTX 5000 series. And that is something I don't want to do. I want to wait for the 6 series and see how that works. I could go AMD for a graphics card, but not quite. I trust AMD only because they don't have market share. They have like 10% of the market. But I don't believe in their hardware for GPUs. So that's kind of the issue. Yeah, that's basically it. That's the whole computer thing. That's everything I know about it and our possible options. As for Sunday, where and future streams until I get my computer back up, I will do shorter streams and I'll be streaming from my phone. Yeah. All right, that's it. All right, Uni, say bye. Uni. Uni. All right, guys, I'll see you. Wish me luck.